all your school rugby, all in one place. This is NextGenXV.
Alright guys, welcome to NextGen15, and this is another schools rugby update, this time for the 4th of May 2021. And if you are new to our channel, please don't forget to click that subscribe button as well as bell notification, and as soon as new videos are released, you'll be the first to know. So you'll notice a bit of a change in format in terms of the slides and the text and all the rest of it, and that's mainly because the laptop crashed, even though it's brand new, and it'll be in for repairs until Wednesday, but everything will resume back to normal once it comes back. So let's just get into the video. You have to admit it's such a difference when you got full sporting fixtures, so to speak. And it's just the first time in a while where there's just been too much rugby to watch in a way. So you actually have to choose between the grassroots or the senior rugby. I've tried to keep up with Varsity Cup as much as I can, Rainbow Cup. Then you've got the schools games as well. There's a lot of rugby to watch. So basically doing the best. But obviously, as you know, on this channel, a long time ago, we decided that we're going to focus on school rugby, grassroots rugby in a sense, and there obviously will be bits and pieces of senior rugby, but it's mainly going to be grassroots rugby. I think that's our niche. Obviously, the Noord-Suid was the highlight of the calendar. I think the tournament was a massive success. Kudos to SuperSport School and the quality of their streaming. I think it was fantastic, and I think the tournament overall was great, and so good to be watching this type of rugby again. I tried to watch a bit of the Lions game. I think it was the Lions-Bulls game. After 10 minutes, I wanted to switch it off. I mean, the school game is just so much easier on the eye, and I don't think there's any denying that. So I'm very happy to be covering this niche, personally. So the main focus today will be the Noord-Suid, obviously. Obviously, there's a plan to sort of cover smaller schools. We're going to attempt to do that, but it needs to be community focused. We're in the process of revamping the website to sort of help connect the community and make the transition between Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere a bit more seamless. And the reality is that we as a rugby nation, our future's in the Northern Hemisphere, guys. We're going to be playing the Rainbow Cup. I've heard from high-level people that we're likely to join the Six Nations in a new tournament format as well. I think people are more focused on time zones than they are hemisphere, so to speak. So I think it's very important for us to connect and learn each other's rugby cultures and history, because whether we like it or not, for the foreseeable future, Northern Hemisphere rugby and South Africa are going to be in bed together, and it's pretty much a big reason why we chose to combine our resources between 15 Rugby, Cheers Mate, and Next Gen Rugby to form this new brand, because at the end of the day, this is going to be our community in the future. So Australia and New Zealand are going to have their own thing, I believe. I think they'll incorporate more of the Pacific Islanders and Japan, which I think will be great for rugby in that area. But I think for our future, it's Northern Hemisphere, and I've discussed this a lot in videos in the past. I'm personally very happy about it. Okay, now there was an article about should there be a Noord-Suid investigation. I mean, look, a lot's been said about the scores. I mean, even there was an article, as I mentioned, on the subject. Now, the author is deeply involved in schools rugby and obviously has the best of intention. I mean, I never want to question anyone's motives, but just from experience, whenever I see investigations required, it's really never a good sign, and the outcome is never a win-win. I wouldn't say get suspicious, because I think the motivations are right in a sense from a personal perspective. These people don't write things to ruin the game. They write things because they want to improve the game. But I just don't see how things end up improving in these sort of scenarios. I just don't want it to become a case where we take our top class programs and actually lower them to make them more competitive with other programs. Those of you that are purists and school rugby purists, I really respect your opinion. But at the end of the day, the game is changing. It is changing. There's more eyes on school rugby because it's easier on the eye. It's more entertaining. It's dynamic. It changes every year, basically. And there's a lot more resources going towards it. So you can either embrace that and figure out how we can all enjoy the game, or you can go the way of the dodo. I'm sorry to say, like, the purest form of the game that you hold dear is not coming back, and technology plays a major reason for it. SuperSport would not have invested the money they did into SuperSport schools if they didn't see a future. Then they're not doing this from the goodness of their heart. They're a corporation at the end of the day, and I don't say that is a bad thing. I don't say that is a good thing. It's just a reality. And I think what I would personally like to see is that there's internal investigation how one can improve their program rather than take another program down a level. I really think that's important. And maybe the reality is it needs sponsorship. Maybe there's money involved. So if there are old boys complaining at a specific school about the results, you tell them to put their money down on the table, keep their mouth shut. I mean, that's just the reality. I don't think from a purist perspective it's fantastic. Obviously, I would like everyone to have an equal playing field. But if you think this is something new in South African school rugby, you're ignorant. I mean, schools are always going to try and find a way to get a competitive advantage on the rugby pitch. I mean, right now, state schools are by far the dominant schools in the country, but for a long time, private schools were up there, and I mean small private schools, because they would basically rely on a post-matric program, and that's frowned upon nowadays, and it doesn't really happen. But at the end of the day, whether it's recruiting better coaches, whether it's more money, whether you have to find other creative means, so long as you don't take another program down just to compete with it, you try and focus how you can bring your program up to compete with that program. I take a look. I mean, it might not sound like the best example because of the scores over the weekend, but Garsfontein are a program that were nowhere a decade ago, 15 years ago. Now they're one of the top programs in the country. You got a lot of schools that have gone from zero to hero, so to speak. And that's because the community get behind it and they're willing to put money down on the table. External people are willing to put money down on the table. Paul Boys have always been a top-level rugby school, but let's be honest, in the last 10 years, they're a top-3 program. I don't know if you could say historically they've always been a top-3 program, but these days they're definitely a top-3 program. So again, it was if you take a look at Paul Boys, probably they said, okay, well, we want to be the best program in the country, and they did the resources in terms of scouting, in terms of putting funds behind the program, developing their culture, and it's reaped dividends. So I just really don't want an investigation to go and say, okay, you can't offer scholarships, or you can't do this, you can't do that. Rather focus on your own program and how you can improve your own program. And if you don't have the resources to become a top 10 or top 5 school in terms of the monetary side of things, then maybe that shouldn't be your objective. Maybe your objective should be development and enjoyment of the game. Because this game is for everybody ultimately, guys. It's not just for the elite. The elite are always going to be the elite. But, if you take a look at a kid that's playing 4th or 5th team at an elite school, you can go play first team at a school that's maybe a level B or level C school. Let him go there and, let him enjoy the game and, develop. So why don't you focus more on development of your players and development of character and having fun with the game rather than trying to play with elites? It's just not going to happen. Scunthorpe United are never going to compete with Manchester United or Chelsea unless a billionaire comes in. So anyway, that's my rant over. I just hope this doesn't become too political. The thing is, nothing is going to make everybody happy, but obviously we want to avoid cricket scores. It really doesn't help the winning team, and it doesn't help the losing team. If you get 100 points on the board against you, that doesn't do anything for your confidence. And if you're the team scoring 100 points, I don't know what it can do for your program. I really don't know what it does for you. It's punching down in a way you feel. And I just look. One thing I think is that maybe when you get to a situation where it reaches 50-0 or something like that, maybe you blow the whistle. Something like that. That's the type of thing you could look at rather than, okay, let's investigate how we can put some rules in place so there's not a big discrepancy between the top schools and the bottom schools. Things like that have been tried. It's called communism. It's never ever worked. All you do in a system like that is you make everybody equally crap. You don't make the top of the top and the bottom of the bottom. The top and bottom is the reality of life. It's the reality of capitalism. It's not the perfect system, but it's better than everyone being equally crap, if you understand my meaning. Anyway, that's my rant over. So in terms of friendly results, Greyhound, nice win for them over St. Stithians, 53-0. St. Andrews had a nice win over Kings with 35-19. Very strange to be playing this early. Obviously, it's a massive fixture, normally K-Day. But But obviously these are different times, so you got to take what fixtures you can. Fitchett Park beating West Valia, tight game there, 13-12, nice win there for Fitchett Park. Grooteveld versus Jim Fisher, must have been a tight game, 15-12, well done to Mr. Cross and his players. Then Greyhound having another fixture up north against Pretoria Boys, 29-15. I think a much more improved performance from the Pretoria Boys after their shock result against Rustenburg. A nice run out for the Grey High School team, looking very good. The backline's looking very good. They got some very exciting young players in there, so really looking forward to seeing how that goes. Heidelberg Falkies beating Alberton 21-7, which is another great result. And then Klerksdorp, I think a lot of people might have been surprised by the difference in points really in this result, 31-15, but good work there from Klerksdorp. So those are your friendly results. Then obviously we get to the Noord-Suid. You guys have been waiting for this for quite some time. My inbox has been inundated with opinions on this, so let's go with it. First day's results. Eche Janssen having a nice win over Valkendrum, 38-7. I thought Janssen were outstanding. Great forward pack. Great interplay between the backs. There's some very, very exciting players in that Eche Janssen team. What I really like about this team is that in the past it's only focused on brawn, but there's a lot more creativity in the backline. I think they're developing a nice culture over there rugby-wise. Very under the radar. I think Volcom Gym, on paper, they've got great players, guys. I just don't know what's going on with them in terms of putting everything together. But I think they will improve as the season goes on because there's just too much class in that team. Paul Gym, I mean, guys, I don't want to sound hyperbolic. I don't think I've ever seen a school rugby game like this. I don't think I've ever seen a performance like this. I got sent video of the Grey College team playing Maritzburg College, and they won 86-3, and Maritzburg weren't terrible that year. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is the perfect team and the perfect result. Like, it can't get better than that. Gasfontein are not a weak school. There are 3 or 4 players there that could play SA schools. Half their team could play for the Bulls in Craven Week. I just saw greatness on the field that day. I really saw greatness. I saw a cohesive team, expertly coached. Everybody knew their role and they executed it to maximum effectiveness. And they made it look easy. And they made it look easy against a very tough Gasfontein team. It was literally perfection. And the most frightening thing about this Paul Gym outfit is that a lot of these guys are in grade 11, okay, which is frightening, because they haven't peaked yet. You must remember, a lot of these guys, they never had an under-16 year. They never had the Grant Como year. So this is their first rugby for a while. They never had that that under-16 year is very important in terms of bridging the gap between junior structures and senior. They've gone straight into it, and they've blown me away completely. And there's a lot of guys that were, sort of under the radar, that have blown me away as well. This team is just something else, and I really thought they would do very well this year. Like I said in my season preview, I thought they were going to be a challenger. So my opinion was like 3rd to 5th place ranking by the end of the year. And I just said it was just 1 year too early, and next year's team is going to be generational. But these guys refuse to lose. I don't think they've ever lost the under-17 group. I don't think they've ever lost in their senior school career. They've just been absolutely perfect. And they're not ready to lose anytime soon. It's very frightening. And the thing I think we're all looking forward to really is like, geez, can you imagine the inter-schools this year? This is going to be a grudge match. Anyway, Stellenberg having an absolutely wonderful victory over Monument. Monument, again, they're not weak this year. They've got some fantastic players, but Stellenberg's spirit just overcame them. Damien Marcus, again, absolutely outstanding. There's some outstanding talent on the pitch in the form of Monument as well, but this was a real battle between a brutal forward pack and a slick and smooth backline. Now, not the Stellenberg backline forwards didn't stand down for the Mona's forwards, but the Mona's forwards are powerful guys. I mean, that's a brutal forward pack over there. So they really had to rely on the creativity of their backline, and they had to defend for their lives, and that's what they did. I think everyone was shocked by this result, and it literally was won by an intercept in the final couple of minutes of the game. So outstanding result there. And then Oakdale versus Uffies. I mean, In my preview video, I did say that this year's Oakdale team was generational, and beating Uffie's 46-21. There are those that could say, oh, maybe it's not Uffie's strongest year. I don't believe that. I still think they got a lot to offer. Oakdale were just outstanding. They are looking incredibly strong this year. Incredibly strong. I mean, that loose four trio is outstanding. The back three is outstanding. I mean, Neil LaRue is just on another level. They're going to be a very difficult team to play against this year. So definitely keep an eye out on Oakdale. I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't end up as the number one school in the country this year. There's no reason why it couldn't happen. And I can't wait to see them against the Wineland schools and against Grey College if those games take place this year. I mean, wow. Day 2, Dana Fault having a nice win over RTS Middleburg, 39-21. RTS unfortunately had their team ravaged by... I don't want to say the name of it because YouTube gives you a bit of issue for it, but the Coof, if you know what I mean. They had their team ravaged by the Coof, so a lot of their players ended up going everywhere else, and they still put in a very gutsy performance. Durbanville were outstanding against Marais-Viljoen. I mean, Marais-Viljoen unfortunately didn't know what hit them. The Ford Pack really fought hard. They never gave up. But the Durbanville backline on the day was just absolutely outstanding, and Herschel Goodman was just extraordinary. He just controlled the flow of the game. The guy's got an ability to open up space and see space where nobody else sees it. And 6 tries by their winger. I mean, outstanding day. And then Paul Boys beating Noord-Suid 79-7. It's weird to say. It's like, I don't think it was a completely polished Paul Boys performance, but it was fantastic. And just to show you what a great coach they have, I think it was absolute genius moving Ruan Venter to open side and Luca to lock. I think it changed the whole dynamic of the team. And, there's a lot of mobility and strength in that pack, in that back line. The back line's missing Hanno Wessels and Akim Kunene. Those are 2 SA schools level players that they're missing over there, and they still fight on all cylinders. I really, really like the look of this team. Outeniqua beating Hultmekaar 41-14. There is no Ford Pack in the country, certainly, in my opinion, that can compare to the Outeniqua Ford Pack. They're giants. They literally look like international rugby players from 20 years ago. The kids are giants. I don't know what the hell they've been fed there in George, but they're massive, eh? And, some of them look like, hardcore old club rugby players. I mean, I played a bit of club rugby back in the day, and I mean, that is physical rugby, eh? Like, guys would literally play to hurt people. And I'm not saying that Outeniqua are dirty. I'm just saying, like, the guys look like club rugby players back in those days. It's like, not exactly small fellows and really ready to get stuck in. And when you get tackled, you've been tackled. If you land on the wrong side of the ruck, you've landed on the wrong side of the ruck. These boys are something else, And the backline's also exciting. So I think Outeniqua are true dark horse this year. I just can't wait to see their Ford Pack against the big boys. I think there's going to be a real clash of the Titans over there. Yes, they're big. And then Grey College against Menlo Park, 51-19. A much improved performance there by Grey. I think they got all their tactics right in this game. I think it was fantastic and genius to move Gertstein to fullback. When I first saw that, I was a bit confused, but he just looks so great with more space. I think the opposition backlines are closing down that space as quickly as they can. Now with Gert, when you give him a bit of space, he can do some absolutely lethal damage. And then it just confuses me because, we're talking about Outeniqua and their massive Ford Pack. We talk about Grey College, they don't have obviously there's Mavo Willifear, Jay van Heerden, like these are big boys, but compared to, if you take a look at the front row, they're very mobile. I know that's Grey College's style of play, but they can still scrum against the best of them. Jean also was absolutely outstanding in this tournament. Lowe and Breitenbach as well, fantastic. So very exciting prospects over there. Niels Volstrenk growing into the role as a leader. Ferdy Vergatini was absolutely outstanding. I felt Lucas Meyer was outstanding. I mean, I could go on and on. Caleb Abrahams, Jean Smith. He was I think he lost a bit of confidence. In the first performance, looked a bit rusty and not rusty, but he just came back from an injury, and I think it showed tremendous character for him to come back in this tournament and perform like he did. It just shows you that form is temporary and class is forever. He was absolutely fantastic. Outside backs were fantastic. And Menlo are no joke. I mean, that Menlo forward pack really likes to get stuck in physically, and those props are massive. That number 4, Locke, is a giant. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he looks like a fully grown. Again, another like senior like man rugby club player type vibe over there with him. He's a big boy. Also, fantastic shout out I have to give to Aiden Smith. He's in grade 11 this year. Outstanding athlete, guys. Keep a very close eye on this guy. He's got tremendous potential. So day 3, there's only 2 games on. Stellenberg versus RTS Middelburg 1910. This was a very interesting game. Because a lot of the Stellenberg boys are ex-RTS Middelburg players, and you could call this somewhat of a grudge match. I think RTS definitely got more stuck into the faces of the Stellenberg boys. I think a lot of them, they played with Damien Marcus, for example, and his centre partner. They played with them before. So a lot of that unknown quantity that Damien was before, that managed to like split open defences and all the rest of it, I think it was a little bit harder for him this time because the guys knew his style of play. And the backline definitely rushed up. They didn't want to give the Stellenberg backline any space. Forwards really fronted up. So it was a much improved performance from RTS Middelburg compared to their first game. And might be a bit of a blueprint for teams that are going to be facing Stellenberg in the future, because the Stellenberg team of this year is no joke, guys. They are a very, very talented group. Then Oakdale against Gasfontein, 41-12, another outstanding performance. Their key players are performing on point. Dean Hiernis again, a beast up in the scrum. Matthew Golden at fullback looks like a absolutely terrifying prospect. Really, really looking good. Then obviously your usual suspects who are all in line for SA school selections: Kleinans and Neil Leroux. De Villiers were absolutely outstanding as well. But this is not only a team of individual talent. They're a well-coached team, and they're a team. So what I like about this is that they play according to structure, they play as a team, but there's also that freedom that their key players have to play their game. So they're not stifled. They don't play to a rigorous system. And I think that gives the guys the confidence to try things. And if they don't pull off, they carry on. If they do pull them off, magic happens. I don't think Gasfontein are a team that loses 84-0 and 41-12. It's unfair for them because they played two basically generational teams in terms of playing Oakdale and Paul Jim. I mean, you couldn't have asked for harder fixtures for this group. But they'll come back. I'm confident they'll come back because they've really got some outstanding talent in that team. And they're not at this level, guys. They shouldn't be losing 41-12. They were just making some silly mistakes. And, they're not playing with confidence. I really think any other year, things would have been different for a lot of these schools, because I think you would have seen them play 3 to 4 warm-up games against, opposition that were a little bit weaker, and then obviously gradually level up until you're able to play Oakdale and Paul Jim. But my word, to go against Paul Jim and Oakdale as your first couple of games in the season, no. That's rough stuff. That's rough stuff to ask for. Okay, then the final day results. Durbanville had a nice win over Noord-Suid. Again, this team's looking very, very good. Paul Jim beating Alkmaar 52-5. They definitely weren't firing on all cylinders. Some great individual performances. I'm going to be naming the team of the tournament just now, so we'll get into that. But some players that I really thought were outstanding. I really like Kleinans and Philip Albert van Niekerk. They're the sort of centre combination. Jalospa is outstanding. Henny Sieberhagen, was a great player as well. Beerts, I think his name is, another great player. So Paul Jim, to say they weren't firing on all cylinders and 152.5, it just shows how much talent is in this team. And, you just hope they can keep that consistency going and not get too confident, because there are challenges that lay ahead. Then Paul Boys against Monument 34-18. I think the score is not a fair reflection of the game. I think Monument lost a lot of confidence against after the loss against Stellenberg, and I think it showed in this game. It definitely showed in this game because there were rookie errors that were made by this team. Really rookie errors that were made. I mean, there's incidences where kicking for touch, they wouldn't find touch. And I mean, it's a brutal forward pack. So if you get a kick in the corner, rolling more, you score a try, they could have gone into the lead. It changes the dynamic of the game. They missed a couple of very kicks that they wouldn't not have normally missed. And I think this was, if you take a look at how the two teams played and all the rest, I think 5 to 6 points would have been a fair reflection. The 16 points is purely lack of confidence on the Monuments' part. They gave away a lot more than they should have. I really do believe it. They're a much better team than this game suggested, and I think once they're firing on all cylinders and once they got their combinations right, they're going to be a very dangerous team. But they'll be very disappointed by this game because if you take a look at how they performed last year against Pole Boys, they were absolutely outstanding. And there's no and Pole Boys are top team this year as well, guys. Don't forget that, outstanding team this year. But I still think Monument could have pushed them a lot harder, especially on the scoreboard, in terms of the scoreboard perspective. But take nothing away from Pole Boys, outstanding. I really like the look of I can't remember what the flower's name is, but they brought him on as a replacement and they put Compion at inside centre. That excited me. I mean, Compion's outstanding wherever he plays on the field, but that combination over there, that really excited me. And I think it would be quite an interesting combination to try out in some other games. I think Compion could be an absolutely lethal inside centre. He's going to be a lethal flower-off anyway, but inside centre, I'd like to see a little bit more of him there. Nelspruit beating Danafalt 34-7. This Nelspruit team is very underrated, guys. They've got some outstanding players over there. I really like their front row. I like their halfbacks. I think they are going to cause a few shocks this year. And they're looking very, very good. I like what's happening over there. And from what I hear, in terms of the lower age groups, there is some real talent coming through over there. So looking forward to seeing how they develop. Then out to Nikwa, unfortunately for Marais Viljoen, they had to face the brunt of that forward pack. Very difficult game, 58 points to 3 victory for the Quaggas over there. And like I said, any team that faces this band of brothers in terms of the forwards is definitely going to have some difficulties. Grey College, Janssen 43-15. Grey College were outstanding. Sean Smith was absolutely outstanding in this game. 43-15, I don't think is necessarily a fair reflection. But they were definitely 15 to 20 points better. But, maybe not quite 28. But I really think Janssen are a dark horse this year. I really look forward to seeing them play. And I think they've just got to cut out some silly mistakes, some ill discipline, some niggly off-the-ball type of stuff. Really not necessary. They're better than that. And, they can really go on to cause some major upsets this year. Then our fees against Volcom Gym, very tight game, 31-26. Dylan Smith, what an outstanding player. What an outstanding player. The guy just doesn't stop. What an engine he has. He can go on the whole game, and every time he gets the ball, he fights, and it takes a hell of a lot to bring him down. Leighton Horn, I thought, was outstanding as well. And, from the Volcom Gym side, Kalapino looks like a great player. I think Benny Himmans is a good player as well. So this game was very tight, and I think it's going to be a very interesting year for Affies and a very interesting year for Volcom Gym. I don't think Volcom Gym had the best tournament according to their standards. I think they have to hold themselves to a higher standard. And Affies, I've just got the feeling they're going to click. I really got the feeling 6 to 7 games in the season they're really going to click. And we're just going to wonder ourselves, is this the same team we saw in the first couple of games? Because they definitely haven't clicked so far. But they've also got a strong group of under-17s coming through, guys. So this is definitely a program on the rise. I think they'll be very disappointed, the result against Oakdale. I think they are better than that. And, Volcom Gym made a nice comeback after their first game where they lost quite badly to Ege Janssen. So be interesting to see. Then when we'll move on to the team of the tournament. Now, with this, it's just one man's opinion, guys. I mean, there's so much outstanding talent on display that it could have been 3 to 4 players picked in a certain position, go to our website, nextgenxv.com, and there'll be a full article on the team of the tournament, including some honourable mentions and all the rest of that. And what I try to do with this, I try to diversify it a bit. So instead of focusing on one school, I don't want to have more than 3 players from a particular school. So I really try to diversify it so everyone would sort of get a chance for a bit of representation, yeah. So fullback, I had to go Gert Steyn, guys. Traditionally I expect him to be an outside centre. I think moving him to fullback was absolute genius. What the guy's doing with a bit of space is absolutely fantastic. What a player, what a tournament. And there were some outstanding fullback performances, but Gert, I think, really surprised everybody. Right wing has to be Logan Opperman. This kid has got so much talent, and he's generally a centre from what I understand. But you try not to hype these kids up, but I have to compare him to somebody. I really see a Brian O'Banner in this youngster, because Brian O'Banner started off, as a centre, and he eventually made his way to a wing. But I really, really see a lot of Brian O'Banner and Logan Opperman. I think he's got such a great rugby brain, got confidence to go on the outside and take his man on. No slouch when it comes to defence. He's a very special young player, and he's under 17, so that's frightening. Outside centre, had to go with Simeon Oosthuizen from Outeniqua. I thought the Quaggas forward pack was absolutely brutal. Simeon, to me, was one of the outstanding players of the tournament. What an exciting young player. And the scary thing is that he was at Oakdale before. So can you imagine if he was still at Oakdale, what a frightening team they would have. Just that extra layer. But this guy played very, very well. Very excited to see him carry on for the rest of the season if he can keep up this form. Inside centre, have to go with Damien Marcus from Stellenberg. The guy just seems to be able to make magic happen. His spatial awareness is at another level. The ability to intercept is fantastic. He's got that same spatial awareness, that natural spatial awareness, like someone like Jean de Villiers has. Really, I think Damien's going to make some magic things happen this year. Very exciting prospect. Left wing, went with Levandre Horn from Durbanville. Had to. 6 tries in his first game. Have to. How can you leave someone like that out? Herschel Goodman was fantastic and provided him with quality ball. But you still got to finish it off. He's got an amazing ability to read the game. And, someone you definitely feel is going to be up there in the try-scoring charts later on in the season. Flav was a very tough one, obviously, but, few can argue Liam Kuhn, guys. I've been doing this since 2018. I've seen some outstanding fly halves, come through the ranks during my time covering school rugby. Liam, I don't know what it is with this kid. I really, really see something golden here. There are outstanding fly halves already in school rugby in South Africa. Compion's out of this world as a talent. Jean Smith is fantastic as well. Very, very big talent. But Liam's just got some sort of X factor about him that you can't quite put your finger on it, but you know that with him at pivot, you just know that the forward pack is going to have that extra level of confidence. He can get you out of trouble from absolutely nowhere. Distribution is absolutely amazing. His ability to pick out his man in a pass. Sometimes you look at this pass and you're thinking, how the hell was that not intercepted? Pinpoint, straight to the man. Also, his ability to spot, gaps in open play. He knows where to kick, how to kick. That boot is amazing. His ability to kick for goal is next level. And the scary thing is he's under 17. He missed his under 16 year, which is a key year. And he's made the jump up like it's easy. And he's not a small guy either. He's actually really big for a fly-off. Father Lou, you must be very proud of the youngster that he's produced over here, because I think he's got a massive future in the game. And it's scary because of all the talent we already have at fly-off. But in terms of this tournament, I couldn't look further than Liam. Wow, what a talent. Scrum off, and goes without saying. Again, we have some outstanding talent at scrum off. You look at Caleb Abraham's outstanding, brilliant distribution, recycling of the ball. Leighton Horn's all over the place, great tactical kicker. But Neil's all of the above. He ticks every box. Every box that can be ticked, Neil ticks it. I have to say it. I think generational talent. I named him, we named him as one of the top 15 prospects to watch in the country this year. And I still feel like we didn't rate him highly enough. in a sense, based on the first couple of games I've seen. If he can keep up that level that he is now, for Reed Dupree level, I mean, I'm going that far. Anyway, let's see how he does the rest of the season. Eighth man, there's some outstanding prospects, but I mean, common has to with Phil Kleinons from Oakdale. What a tournament he had. And what a player. He's carrying us out of this world. And you see those cheeky offloads. He's got no business doing those offloads as an eighth man, but he does it because that's what he does. He's a crazy talent. Unbelievable. Surely the SA school selectors are watching him very carefully. Open side flank, there was a lot of contenders, but I went with Werner Groenewald. I just think, I really like that Janssi's team, but, Van is someone that stands out to me every game. I mean, his ball carrying is outstanding, his defense is outstanding, and he's got an extremely high work rate. Very, very physical player. And, if I was a recruiter for a union, this would be one of the players I'd be after the most, because it's very easy to perform on a team that's got, front foot ball and is dominating the game. Against Welcome Jim, when they were dominating, he was outstanding. Against Grey College, when they weren't dominating, I thought he was still outstanding. So, I mean, I'm keeping a close eye on him, and I think a lot of people are as well. Blindside, Paul de Villiers from Oakdale, very easy one in a way. Again, there's a lot of talent. You think of the Paul boys, number 6, I forget his name now, excuse me, but very outstanding player. Paul de Villiers, though, between him and Philip, that's probably the premier loose trio in the country right now. If you take a look at their first two games against Affies and against Gasfontein, those are two Pretoria powerhouses, and the Oakdale boys made it look easy, scary. Number 5 lock, Jay van Heerden from Grey College. It's been a long time since you've seen a tall lock at Grey. Normally you got the loose forwards, in the lock department. It's one day we'll do a video on Grey College's style of play, but very much mobility based, quick ball, putting the opponents on the back foot all the time. So JF doesn't fit the traditional approach to a Grey College lock. And it's great to see someone like this come through. Hell of a talent, and he's under 17. So yeah, that's frightening. He's gonna take a lot of names next year, one thinks. Next up, Luca Ribbons. We named him our number 1 prospect for a reason, guys. Luca's an outstanding player. He's consistently good. You get some players that'll stand out and will shine as a star. Luca definitely believe he's a star. But the consistency is what really stands out. I mean, I've never seen this kid have a bad game. He's always playing his heart out. He's always playing high IQ, high octane rugby. And I just think he's an outstanding talent. Whether he's playing as a 7 or a lock, outstanding. Tight head, Sifiso Mugwaza from Monument. This guy was just really, really stood out for me. I mean, you got to think about last year with Monument. The tight head was Heiko Pullman, so those were big shoes to fill. Cassie Bottas was bought in from RTS Middelburg, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, and he's an outstanding tight head. So you must understand how good Sifiso must be to displace him in the starting lineup, and he just performed exceptionally in the tournament, especially because you consider that Monument lost both games. But Sifiso's carrying his defense, his work rate, everything was absolutely outstanding. We named him as one of our top 15 under 16s to watch last year, and for good reason. And remember that he actually, last year was an important year for the under 16s, and a lot of them didn't get to play Grand Coma. Well, guess what? Sifiso has experienced a Grand Coma. He has it as a 15-year-old. So he actually played under 16 Grand Coma as a 15-year-old. Just shows you this guy's ability. And he's an under 17. And there's already whispers about him sort of being in the mix for SS schools. And don't be shocked if he makes it. Another under 17 player, Luca Bacchus from Paul Jim. Luca's old man is Luther Bacchus. Now, those of you a bit older will remember him. Those of you that are a bit younger, Afrikaners like to use the word Easter, and sometimes it gets thrown around a bit too much. But with Luca, he is an Easter. I mean, this guy's an absolute monster. he just does not stop playing. That engine is absolutely amazing, and he doesn't give a damn about the size of the opposition. He goes in guns blazing. He's made some telling tackles, some telling defensive contributions. Outstanding player. And you got to think about someone like Jacques Goosen, who managed to play SA schools for 2 years. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that Luke is in that mix. And he's under 17, guys. Frightening prospect. Then finally at Lucid, we went with Corneille Lavagna from Paul Jim. It was a very tough one between him and Jean Alsa. But Corneille is, he's an underappreciated player. I think Gray's system allows for the front row players to really stand out because of the mobility, whereas Paul Jim, the front row is about doing the hard graft, doing the hard work, I'm not saying that other props don't do the hard work, but it's selfless work. You don't get much recognition for it. And I think if I take a look at Corneille in this tournament, he was absolutely outstanding. He doesn't stand back for anyone in the scrum, carries very well, and is very much part of an exceptional Paul Jim team this year. And he's one of the anchors in the team. And, you take a look at that Paul Jim tight five with him, Sibach and or Race, the other lock. Forgive me for getting his name. It's hard to remember all these names. But yeah, they're an outstanding group, guys. And I think Corneille just deserved a bit of exposure because he really is an outstanding talent. Anyway, let's get into the top 10 finally now. And guys, again with this, it's not 100% official. What I'll send you guys a link eventually to how my ranking system works. But I need 3 to 5 games to get a feel of how to categorize a school in order to allocate points. So don't take this as something 100% official. But if I don't do one of these, I often get emails complaining. So we're just going to go ahead and do it. So 10th place, Grey High School. 2 nice wins. Obviously not against powerhouse schools, but I think they're on their way to being a top 10 school anyway. There's a lot of talent in that team. Very exciting backline. I like the loose forwards over there. Even the front row, top five's looking good. So looking to be a very well-balanced team. Just to add another caveat, I'm not considering any schools that have had only one game. You need at least 2 to 3 games to make this list. And don't take it too seriously. It doesn't mean anything just yet. 9th place, Yehia Jansen. Thought they were outstanding in this tournament. Obviously, the gap between them and the great colleges of this world is extreme, but I still think they're worthy of being called a top 10 school at this stage of the early season. 8th place, Afis, although they got, they lost quite heavily to Oakdale, I still think there's a lot of quality in this team. And as I said, I think as the season progresses, you're going to see them improve quite significantly. 7th place, Monument, unlucky to lose that game against Stellenberg. Paul Boys, I think it was a lot closer than the scoreboard suggested. I think there is some real talent in this team, and in Jan-Hendrik Bessinger, they've got a true leader. So I still think they're definitely a top 10 school. 6th place, Stellenberg. You had to. I think they're doing very, very well. They've had some shock results so far. In terms of not being seen as a major traditional powerhouse in terms of schools rugby, I think they've blown everybody away, and I think they're definitely going to cause them a few upsets this year. Then 5th place, Otanikwa have to be there, guys. The Quachas are looking something special. That forward pack is devastating. I mean, we'll see what happens when they go up against forward packs that are more equal to the task. But I think they're going to be able to lay a solid foundation with that forward pack and are real dark horses this year. 4th place is Oakdale. They could even be number 1, to be honest with you. I think there is an argument for that. I just think the fact is that they've played 2 games, and we don't quite know yet how strong or weak Gasfontein and Afis really are. We're only going to know as the season progresses, which is why I traditionally like to wait 3 to 5 games before allocating a point system to the rankings. 3rd place, Grey College. Only the 1 loss so far. I think they had an outstanding tournament. Still room for improvement, and the only reason I say that is because they hold themselves to extremely high standards. I think it's been a baptism of fire for the coach, Yanni Gelderneys. You must remember, he's got one of the most pressurized jobs in the world of school rugby, guys. A school that's got a winning history of 91%. So it's very difficult for a coach to take over a team like this, especially from a revered coach such as Wessel du Plessis. But he's gonna, he wants to put his own stamp on the team. So we got to give him a bit of time. Even Vessel, when he first took over, it didn't all go his way. So we just got to give it a bit of time, and that the school will come back. Always does. Second place, Paul Boys. I know I had them ranked first last week. I might as well tell you the first rank is no surprise. It's Paul Jim, so we just discussed that. I think the reason why I went with Paul Jim at number one for this week's rankings purely was 84-0, guys. Like I said, I've never seen a performance like that. I don't think there's anybody in the country that would have predicted an 84 point margin of victory for Paul Jim against Garsfontein. That world doesn't exist. It feels like you're in the twilight zone when you talk about it. And I still don't believe Garsfontein are a terrible team. Hell, we'll know later on in the season, what level they're playing at. But that particular game and the way Paul Jim performed was just out of this world. And that's taking nothing away from Paul Boys, because they were outstanding against Monument. They were outstanding against Noord-Suid. But you got to think about it, guys. 84-0 Garsfontein. Yes, and if you're a Garsfontein supporter, you must be hating me now for saying that so much. But really, it's a massive shock to me. So I had to go with that. And that's all. So thanks a lot for taking the time to watch. I know it is a long video, but there was a lot to talk about. If I don't do these at least once a week, then this will end up being 3-hour videos, I suppose. So rather go through something that's at least under an hour once a week than 4 or 5 hours once a month, really. Can discuss a lot more. Let me know about what your thoughts on the rankings, the team of the week. What players do you think we're missing out on? What talent do you think's out there that's still got some potential? But then, just let us know your thoughts and opinions down below. Again, you really help us by subscribing and clicking the like button. Helps with the YouTube algorithm, so please go ahead and do that. And as always, have a fantastic week further. Cheers. Bye.